Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mia. I'm so excited. I'm here with Honey and also Lauren. Um, we are, so excited about the Conscious Business Council that Honey and I have started. And if you're interested in more about that, we'll put the link below. And as a part of that project, we are talking with expansive entrepreneurs, small business owners, conscious creators, and Lauren is exactly that. She's amazing, and I'll kind of hand it over to you to kind of explain more about your process. But in short, I know Lauren kind of from the healing arts community. I know her as a healer who works with frequency and biomagnetism, and she also is an innovator in the beauty space because and obviously we can get into this more, but everything is changing right now, and we're just reinventing all these aspects of our life, all these systems, all our products. Everything is getting we're translating all to a higher frequency version. And so what Lauren's doing is working to create products that are really leading edge, infused with frequency and just really, really unique and high vibration. So, and I want obviously you to speak more to that, Lauren, but welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, yes, thank you for having me. I'm so honored.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, what?
do you want to just share a little bit about your background and maybe about your healing arts practice, and then how that kind of meets up with the products that you create?
Yes, yes. So I'll kind of like condense a super long story, in some parts because otherwise it'll get super long. But I started out as a fashion designer in the, kind of dark end of the Kali Yuga. That was my vibe. I was a couture fashion designer. And I then proceeded to get sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. And through a very, very intense healing process, transformation, Pluto in the eighth house, it was intense. I kind of butted that up against the pandemonia transformation of the collective and went through like a double whammy of my own personal transformation and then the collective at the same time. And so the fashion started draining as I got sicker and sicker and sicker. And I created a skincare range while I was sick, but I just kind of perceived it as like a hobby. And I was like, I'm going to do like the first year of couture, and then I'm going to do then the second year I'm going to move into beauty. And I kind of had this idea that I was just like going to create this empire, this international empire. It was like a little kid playing in the bushes with their business. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I was in the backyard in my garage, like I know I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, I'm going to do all these things, getting sicker and sicker and sicker because the energy was pushing me up against a wall, to let go of not only my um like DNA distortions, but like my whole lineage. And I was like the chosen one to like really go into the womb, dissect the whole womb for thousands of ancestors. And I did that. And then, that long story short, then that really catapulted us into the pandemic. And I was like, yeah, no, listen, I have a hemoglobin issue. I can't wear a mask. I can't do any of that bullshit. No, I'm not talking to the nurse on set. This is not happening. No. And they're like, well, we're going to take you off the schedule. And Mia, we've just, I've briefly told you this, that, I worked with Goop, I worked with other places, and they wanted me to talk to a nurse. And I was like, no, that is not part of the deal here. You know what? I've been sick this whole time and no one's sent me to the nurse. Now you guys want to like check me out to see if I'm like contagious? The answer is no. So they took me off the schedule and I was like, all right, it's Bella Nectar, which is my skincare range, full speed ahead. And I just like built super hard during the pandemic and got on track. But simultaneously, I knew that I was gonna, through my illness, discovery phase, I guess it was a discovery phase. I built a map on multiple aspects of how one crafts themselves into well, physically, mitochondrially, energetically, emotionally, ancestrally, the whole thing. So I created these 13 pillars, and I'm going to be moving into like teaching that, like teaching, how you work your metabolics, how you work your mineral balance, how you work the ancestral transmutation, all the whole process. It's kind of like becoming the master and the masterpiece at the same time. And hopefully I can guide people that they won't have to go into such a dark night of the soul that I did. I mean, everybody needs to. Everybody needs to. We know this needs to kind of go into some sort of shadow land, but mine was particularly poignantly on the razor's edge of skirting death for a while, that it gave me a long a stretched out moment to figure out really the map to becoming your more exalted, to be a walk-in of your high self, basically. So that being said, just then it leads me to my third point. I started practicing biomagnetism during the pandemic, and I started deepening the metabolic and the mineral and all the science into the quantum energetic field. And as I did that, I really sort of like fleshed out the whole picture, kind of turned over my own engine, all those things that are stuck. They're really, there's a lot of energetic stuff that you have to pair the physical with. And so that then I was the first person to take tallow and blend um the animalia into the skincare world, because I was like, you guys, you know what? We're obsessed with plants here. Yeah, that's cool. However, there's like other kingdoms on this planet, and they're really beautiful and they're really awesome. And I think that they shouldn't be forgotten. And, during the beginning of the pandemic, everyone was like, well, how are you going to get people to put beef fat on their face? And I'm like, well, it's really bioidentical, it's super nutritious. And they were like, no, no, no. And now, especially with like RFK and like the whole movement of like, Maha, we're starting to understand it. And sometimes I joke, I think like, tallow's popping even more than crypto.
Oh yeah, it's exploding. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now I'm moving on to, so I call Bella Nectar um, elemental alchemy. So I work with all the kingdoms, the mineral, the plant, the animalia, and now I'm weaving in the energetic with my latest product, which is kind of blending the energy healing of bioenergetics and biomagnetism and my formulation, so that, you know, one who experiences skincare can experience the leading edge of the frequency wave that we're all kind of riding and going to be deeply riding, as we
Mhm.
progress.
Mhm.
So yeah,
So
that's kind of
fun.
the nutshell.
That's so fun. That feels quantum to me. And I
Mhm.
do quantum healing, and that feels quantum. Like
Yeah.
you're really digging into all the ingredients and you're giving them energy that is going to help the person as well. So
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, like, surface change, in the nutraceutical world and in the pharmaceutical world, we have to transmute out of that, right? Because obviously it's a band-aid. Obviously, it doesn't involve inner transmutation, or like the quantum leap that you make when you want what's in the bottle. Right. And I think skincare is kind of similar, which I don't know if I'm like stepping on my own feet with like the earlier formulations, because I'm like, it's not in the bottle, it's in your DNA, is kind of the message of this new product, because where are we going to just get some sort of promise off of a shelf like, here, you know what this is going to do? It's going to turn you into another, it's going to make all your wild dreams come true. It's like, well, it, yes, but it comes from within, I think, more than it comes from without. And I think that's a really poignant message to all of us as we move into this new age. It's an insourcing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
It's
think it's
huge.
interesting because, or sorry, go ahead.
Oh no,
Oh, go
I,
ahead.
I mean, it's an insourcing thing, but like, a co-creation. Like when somebody goes to the doctor and says, give me a pill, there's kind of no co-creation there. It's just like, I hope this pill does a thing for me, and people sometimes look at skincare like that too. And I'm always trying to teach people that it's like, when you work
Yeah.
with nature, it's a co-creation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you are creating, like, our bodies are regenerating really quickly now, but
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
don't necessarily know that. So it's like we're still going along the same program,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and we're regenerating in 90 days now. And I just had this conversation with somebody because we're crystalline and everything is changing really quick. And the energy that you put in there, along with the science, a lot of stuff is going to be like an in-between thing. Eventually, you'll just be able to, like, oh, I want my face to look this way, and you can change it and make it all amazing. But
Yes.
we're not there yet. Like, we're in the process. So I think there's going to be so many things that, like, Mia and I, we do life wave patches. So frequencies and help that is going to maintain the body while
Yep.
we learn how to actually tap into our own maintenance, which it could take quite a long time for that, or it can be very quick for other people.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love just like the aspect of it also that you're really like a bridge and helping people to transition out of the old systems too. I mean, everybody here probably we all are in different ways, but like I come from, I worked in the art world. I worked as a photographer, so I worked in fashion essentially too in that world, and that's connected to beauty. So I still love, the idea. I love adornment and I love, wearing beautiful, now natural, more natural fabrics. And I love, I wore your product today, Lauren, this one that has like the mica in it,
Yeah.
gold, um, rose steeped tallow and golden mineral pigments, and I love it. It's so beautiful, and so it's like it's also just so lovely to have things that are healthy and imbued with positive frequencies to use. I mean, it feels good. It's like a form of self-love. I just love all of that, and so it's nice to have, for people who are starting to learn what's been happening with all these corporations, how many poisons have been in these products, how many endocrine disruptors, things like that. I think now people are really, it's funny how things are just coming up in the collective to kind of be witnessed. And right now I've noticed everybody's talking about hair care. It's like all of a sudden they're really realizing we need to,
Yeah.
in all the ways pick healthier products essentially, or just move out of that old paradigm. And you're just creating somewhere, you're educating people, you're creating a bridge so that there's something that's actually even more expansive and more healing and also just still lovely and beautiful and like elegant packaging, to step into. So it's not just like we have to completely let go of everything. There are more high vibration options essentially. And I love that. It's really shifting the culture.
Yeah, yeah. And also what I want to inspire others, especially in your quantum or in your conscious business council, is that in creating something, it is so much fun to create all the aspects of it, to create, I designed the labels, they're my drawings. I had to like pick all the vessels, and that took like a really long time. And then it's like the marketing and all the aspects of business, and then shipping and receiving, and doing the taxes and doing the sales tax and organizing that in spreadsheets. Everything is really, really exciting in terms of like running a business. And I really think that that is when people start to steep themselves in their capacity to create and then their capacity to um, generate value with their creations, it is a whole quantum leap for your insides. And I feel like I've kind of like done the yellow brick road discovery path of all of that, where I'm like, wow, well, I don't know how to set up the website over here like this. Okay, well, it's like every day is like a new problem that you solve, and you just kind of keep going. It's like the most intense game of golf, and you just want to beat your score and beat your score and beat your score, but not in like a competitive old school way, but just in like a sort of like crafting and becoming kind of a way. So I
Yeah.
encourage people to start their businesses,
Yeah, I love that because I always say like, and it seems like it was maybe true for you. I know it was true for me that there's a certain level of naivety that's actually really great when you want to start a new project if you just have that passion and that inspiration because the world, outer world, the kind of matrix world makes you feel like you need a PhD to do anything. But really, the most innovators or the most highly creative people, are really those who just follow that inspiration. Like I didn't know at all how to do events when I started, and that helped me in some ways because I didn't put these limitations on what we could do, and we just figured it out. And it just seems like it's kind of what you're talking about. Like you just pull that thread and you follow your dream, and like it's an unfolding, and you just are trusting it.
Yeah, it's like a very it's like a sort of dynamic and complex easel, like, or like a painting that is like three-dimensional and moving around, and you're like, whoa, I have to do that. Whoa, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how, like, you're following your intuition, you're
Yeah.
creating, you're looking at things from a higher perspective, and you're also seeing all the puzzle pieces come together, which is really beautiful. I love, doing my business because
Yeah.
it's the things that I'm passionate about. And you can really feel the passion and the love that goes into your stuff, and just kind of you feel the frequency. Like, and that's something Mia and I talk about quite a bit is what do you want from your product? Like, do you want to feel the frequency of the person that created it? And I think that's what small business is going to be in the future is the beauty of the frequencies of the people. And you're sharing your creation like it's a quantum thing. So people are getting the benefit of that, and it's just fabulous. And I can't wait to start making some things and doing some things that way too, which is, I'm really inspired about that. But just everything you create is carries your frequency, whether it's something you create in your home, just, with the quantum way that we create, or your business, and you're giving away little bits of your own energy with it, and it becomes really fun.
Yeah.
And I think there's an element of that, that on so many levels, the level playing field, right, multidimensionally, and the level playing field that we're moving into the new financial system, and we can, talk about that, but that requires all of us to participate in a way of like rhythmic balanced interchange, like send receive on equal footing. And as we create products and create businesses and create things, we're doing so from our heart, and it is like it's a two-way street. It's the same thing when when I create a product, I'm wanting you to interact with the ingredients of nature in a partnership. And it's not just like, hey, go to cola, can you just make me beautiful? Like it's like like it's like it's an imbalanced equation when you just expect um, the product that is like an isolated mineral or a vitamin from a lab that's like detached from everything, and it doesn't really have that chance for interchange. And,
Mhm.
as we could move into like the new monetary system, it's going to be that like send receive. And that also is how our bodies work. We are in rhythmic balanced, interchange with ourselves and the system that we are. And it kind of just works on all levels, so as we step up and we create these businesses, create these products that with like from love, they can be received from, with that love. And it's like it's the two-way street rather than the one-way street that we've been used to.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And you will meet or at least feel the energy of person that you're buying from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in some ways it's like, when you go to a restaurant and somebody hates their job and they're infusing the food with
Mhm.
that negative energy and you don't know, and you're like, gosh, I just ate that sandwich and I just feel terrible. I wonder what happened, like, and it just does. I think that the way in which we're moving into our own agency, we're able to feel deeper and
Mhm.
feel where things come from, and feel the energy signature of everything.
Yeah, I think so too. We're starting to notice, like, even in a room with someone, how their energy feels before they even speak. And
Mm.
I think that, that's been something that I've been doing for a really long time, but everybody's doing it now. It just feels like, especially in the group of people that I run with, they're all doing it. Oh, that doesn't feel good. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
So people are really going to be attracted to things that feel good and that they know are going to make their body feel good. And
yeah.
it's a beautiful thing to pamper your body because you wouldn't be here without it. You'd just be floating around and you wouldn't be participating in this construct we have going on. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I
yeah.
and I love kind of what you're talking about with that, just that kind of law of resonance, and we're resonating with, with what we're resonating with and drawn to. And for anybody, if you're listening to this and you are thinking about starting something, a project or a business, it's also like, I love that you started this during, COVID too. And it was an inspiration, that it was such a potent time really for many who used it kind of in a similar way. It was really birthed so much. And so, started it fairly recently, and people, I just want to say that people are going to quickly feel the resonance of what you're doing that are aligned with your mission and what you're creating, and they're going to just kind of pop into your reality to support or either purchase the product or the service, or just it can naturally kind of like create community by through the creative process of putting something out in the world. And I love that, that's kind of something that my company Mercado Sagrado has been a part of, and kind of bringing people together, but it's really just a natural process. And I think Lauren, I believe you did a collaboration with Shiva Rose, right? So it's a natural way, like it's just fun and it's natural. We are attracted to things in resonance, but then also it helps create community and spread the word about what everybody's doing. So then, like, Lauren gets to make something beautiful with Shiva, and then Shiva's also a conscious creator and
Yep.
has her own things going on. And it's not about competition either. It's about all just creating together and celebrating what everybody's doing. And then things just naturally grow and expand. And it's not about necessarily like, having the most money for a marketing campaign or a commercial or things like that, because it's all resonant. So things just naturally will expand through that. And I love that because I see that with most, a lot of the people in this community and in the Mercado Sagrado community. It's just really beautiful to witness.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
everybody's energy intertwined, like it's just like a little spin around over here and then a spin around over there, and it just kind of all fractals out, which is very cool. Like doing something with Shiva, like that that really gave me a chance to sort of like do a little tango with what her message is. And then we tangoed around, and then she spins off and does another thing, and I spin off and do another thing. And it's very, um, this is the way that we are supposed to like tell stories and communicate.
Mhm. We're moving into the age of community. So we're really going to be helping each other all the time, doing these different things. And that's where it's at. Like, we're not necessarily collaborating in the same business, but our businesses will collaborate. So it's going to just be more and more fun. And there is really no, if you're still in the energy of competition, then you're really not figuring it out yet. Like, you don't need to be at this point. So knowing that you don't need to be, knowing that you're here to create something that's about you and share your personal gifts with other people, and not feeling like you have to compete with anybody, because the competition thing is going away. And it was created for division. So we're really collaborating all the time. And it's just so much fun,
Yeah.
because then you have different projects going on with different people, and you get to enjoy their energy, and then attracting in people that are attracted to both of you. And it's just more real, it feels like, than what we've been doing in the past. It feels like genuine, the love vibe that we are striving for. So I
Yeah,
just love it. Yeah.
it's very authentic. Yeah, it's just a very authentic and natural way of being. You just sort of get to
Mhm.
like, it's like you're saying, it's just a dance. You're doing your thing, and then oh, you meet up here, do this, and then it brings these people in, and you wouldn't have met them if you didn't do that dance with that Shiva or whatever. It's just like, it just feels really flowy and natural, and not you kind of get to just follow your own intuition and your inspiration. And it's like, and when you do that too, you're kind of also just in the moment. So it's constantly being kind of surprised and delighted by opportunities and new people and um possibilities. It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
it also gives us our storytelling. It returns storytelling back to us. We are human, like humans. I feel the like the cabal or whatever you want to call them, they like took the storytelling out of us and kind of took the storytelling out of, they turned the music industry into what they wanted it to be, and told a story that was the inverse of our ascension. Basically, it was a
Yeah.
descension. And then they took the storytelling of just everything. And Shiva and I came together to tell the story of like how the sun is important in your life through the product. So we kind of had like a mission, and like we wanted to like share knowledge. And it was kind of more about sharing knowledge than it was a product, or it was like parallel. And it wasn't just like, I know we got a good idea, let's just crack a bunch of them and yay. It
Mhm.
was more like, wow, we really want to speak, we want to speak to you a message, and the message is encoded in the product, and it also is encoded in everything that we're doing, and and we got to honor our legacy of storytelling. And big companies took that out, and they started
yeah.
weird stories about Bud Light, and like, you know what I mean.
And pharma.
Yeah.
Well, and there's been so much like automated, just like you look at the cookie aisle, and then you go and you look at one of those shows that shows you how everything gets made. And you're like, oh, that's basically cardboard sitting on that shelf right there. I don't want that, you know? So we're getting to the point where we want things to come from small business. We
Yeah.
want our fabrics to be good. We want the quality to be good of our things that we put on our body, because everything that goes into your pores is in your bloodstream in 26 seconds.
Yeah, and that's
So there's, yeah,
responsibility. That's a responsibility that most people who run a
ignore.
giant corporation are um they're skirting that
Hmm.
responsibility.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah. And they don't even have to tell you all the ingredients in there.
Yeah.
So all that stuff will really shift as we go forward. And I don't really feel like there's going to be big corporations anymore.
Yeah.
So I want to
No.
show everybody your website.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. So here it is.
Yay. Took me a
Yay.
while, you guys.
So lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it
Wow.
though.
I
So
did all
fun.
the imagery, like created all the images. I'm obsessed with Canva. So I didn't know I was going to have to be a graphic designer too, but I
Mhm.
kind of like the challenge.
I
Well,
love Canva too.
I love that because I just did a little video in our group about that, kind of about creating your own brand or business, project personality, and it's just an adventure and it's fun. It's like, even if you're gonna hire somebody to do it for you, it's like you really want your imprint in it, your frequency in it, and it kind of sometimes feels good to just do it yourself. I mean, because then it really is like it's an all-in art project essentially, and
And
yeah.
self-discovery. It's self-discovery.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it, even you look, how you're dressed, the painting behind you made it all feels like your website. It all feels so just like a painting, all of it together. It's very fluid and harmonious. So you can feel it. You can feel it, and that's what people are attracted to too. It's so authentic. It's like, oh, this is like it's an extension of you. It's like I feel Lauren every time I pick this up.
Mhm.
It's really cool.
I,
Um,
It is.
a lot of the old way, there was all that hierarchy and all of that competition. And I have to say, like being in fashion, it broke me. I mean, of course, I had the outpicturing of a physical illness, but that sort of like never enough and like, and then you're just like trying so hard. And just what you just said to me was so like I was like, wow, when you were talking just so huge of like, wow, let me take that in because it's a step towards really experiencing yourself outside of all that trauma that like the old system creates, it just like you're
uh,
I mean, I had all this skill of as like an expert tailor and I can make a dress at like Valentino style, not to toot my horn, but like I studied. And I would walk on set and they would be like, "Hey, do you have a vacuum cleaner too?" Like I was the cleaning lady or something. And I was like, "Oh my God,
yeah.
I'm
It's
crying."
it's
You
a
know?
hard environment, and I felt really blessed to be around some really good people in that world, but oh, there's so much of that. There's so much judgment
Yeah.
and self-hatred, and obviously, I mean, there's just a lot of dissonance in that world, and so many people were so unhappy and didn't love themselves, and it's so messy right now, but I do feel like that's all shifting and
Yeah.
going away and kind of transforming into like, yeah, kind of what you're leading the way with. But I wanted to bring up something that I'm seeing right now in the collective because I'm curious what you guys think about it and if you might tune into it, honey. But you talked, Lauren, about how it's like shifting from, kind of outside in that old paradigm of judgment and competition, and I need to be this way and fit into that box. And something it's interesting as the old everything kind of crumbles, there's also this weird thing coming up with the Ozempic. I feel like there's going to be almost like Ozempic gate because I'm just realizing how big of a thing that is right now too, and it seems to be really triggering for people because I have friends, a girlfriend of mine, Jessica, you guys play both her, and her mother-in-law recently passed really because of that. They had put her on it in the hospital while she was on other things, and um it seems to be harming a lot of people, but obviously that's so tied into kind of in a weird way the beauty and kind of wellness world, and it seems to be like I don't know, I guess I don't know what that is because it's like we're kind of seeing pharma fall, but then that seems to be so prominent right now. And I'm curious what you guys get about that. Or honey, if that's something to kind of help just close out pharma's reign because it's got so much negativity on the backside, even though it's not fully being seen yet, it seems like, from the public.
There's a lot of factors in there. So one of them is you can't be too thin or too like too rich or
Yeah.
too thin. And it basically is saying, listen, What are you willing to actually do? And do you honor your body at all when you're willing to do that to yourself? Because it's basically like starvation.
Mhm.
So there's that, and then it creates complications later, and then your
Mhm.
body doesn't work right later. And I think it's being outed all over social media, and people are saying, do this herb or do this, pill or whatever instead, because that is dangerous to be doing. And I do think it's kind of outing that industry as well. So there's all these like layers in there.
There's even a weird layer where she sent me something that was saying that there was a man who was like, I'm going to get to bottom of this. What is actually the active ingredient in this that they're giving people? And he said it was
Venom.
basically said it was something like lizard venom. And I was like, well, that was a left turn I wasn't expecting. I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. I was like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that might bring out the venom thing in
Mm.
the future for additional things, which I don't want to say on
Yeah.
here because we're going to put it on YouTube. But I would say, that's a whole nother layer. But um, what it's doing to people, like
Yeah.
they're like, oh, Zempic face or whatever,
Yeah.
and all of their face has basically fallen
Mhm.
and they just don't look good at all anymore because it's too fast
Mhm.
and it's really negative for the body. So there's just, yeah, I would say that's a huge issue in health. And it's also another way for people to exit if they are looking to exit.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, like
Yeah.
there are lots of ways that people can choose to exit at this point that they want to ascend without their body. And
Mhm.
that's another way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that was so interesting to be coming up now amongst everything else. And I didn't realize it was so many people were using it until I randomly saw like a South Park episode, which was kind of hilarious, but also I it was disturbing and I realized that they must be showing this for a reason. It's a really big deal right now.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have an in-law who I don't know if they're still using it, but they were at least.
Hmm.
And their whole family group was using it.
Wow.
So,
Um, I have something to say that I've been thinking about in the last couple of weeks, and I've just been like, huh, this is interesting. So, in the transmutation of your metabolics from the old way, and like you're a sugar burner, and we basically it's a mineral dysregulation, it's a mitochondrial dysregulation, and we've been living generation to generation like that. And there is a transmutation that we have to make from that state to our crystalline state, right? And part of it, I think, does have to do with working the fasting and your metabolics and going from burning sugar to burning ketones, and you have to have time in between. So that could actually be an avenue for people to help them. And I was thinking about this because what happened to me in my healing journey is I knew I had to get into ketosis. And I got into ketosis to build, like my hemoglobin was at like a dead person's hemoglobin. It was like 2.6. And like, look it up, if anybody wants to know, I mean, it might not hit you unless you understand, it'll hit a medical person. They'll be like, how's that girl still alive if she had a 2.6 hemoglobin for multiple years? So anyway, I didn't want to take iron, so I worked my metabolics and I upshifted into 4 times as much fuel, ketones, and I got very thin. And I was like, this is amazing. Call Vogue. I love this. I love ketosis. You guys, woo. But I wasn't working out because I didn't have the energy because of the hemoglobin. And my body finally felt safe. And then it started putting weight on. And I was like, what the heck is this? I never experienced this before. What's going on? And I allowed it for a year. I was like, listen, body, you need to transmute, you need to build organs. This is an anabolic, you went into a catabolic state, now you go into an anabolic state. Let's rebuild the organs, let's terraform in there, let's do also, you know, I had to work on the adrenals, I had to work on the kidneys, I had to work on the liver, I had to work on the uterus, I had to work in the lymph. I mean, like, it was a full reconstruction in there. But now I'm understanding that the next phase is to 2.0, and to like build muscle, and to now like use that fuel and to burn that clean fuel to turn it into muscle, to like uh terraform my body composition, and to basically walk and talk the longevity that everybody is saying, okay, great, we need to create this longevity. So the reason why I'm telling this story is because when you use Ozempic or something on the outside and there is no bidirectionality and you're just like, yeah, cool, serve it up to me, you get into the pitfalls of the unnatural, or even the natural, possibly, of like going from this sugar burner, generational sugar burner, kind of like our all of our metabolisms were hijacked, and that is metabolism of the biology and also metabolism of your thoughts, you know. So I think it's almost like if you use those medicines, you might not be able to ascend naturally, because like I'm sharing my experience of my own, just like working my metabolics, that was similar to like using one of those things, but I was doing it all based on my will, and then getting into the same issues of being like, oh no, I lost all this weight, now I gained more weight than I ever had, what's happening? But everything is a chance of engaging in the agency of the process, you know what I'm saying? And somebody who's just phoning in Ozempic, I don't know if they're doing you know, that's where you get into like, honey, what you're saying, where you're like, well, it's an exit plan, you know,
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
exit, you know. I don't know if
Well,
that
and
makes
we're not doctors and we're not claiming to be, but we're
no.
definitely interested in the subject. So I would like to make that disclaimer here,
Yeah, me,
but
yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting to us. And we don't really agree with trying to do things from the outside in that are unnatural. So that's the standpoint that we come from when we're talking
Yeah,
about it.
just
Yeah.
feels like it's harder on the body, and there are side effects, which is why, yeah, why we're like, I believe in holistic medicine, or yeah, it's more gentle.
Right. And there is a natural process. Like, I do believe people should be, you know, looking at the subject of their mineral balance and their metabolic balance as, you know, their own N1, you know, their own personal parameter. And the process of I guess what I want to say is that if you go the medical route, you miss all of the choices and like the agency and like the work, you know, like getting up and doing healthful things is it's self-sovereignty, you know, and going through the process naturally, like, hey, maybe I should, if you know, maybe I should become metabolically flexible, then it's like a process, I think.
Yeah. And everything is energetic, and we manifest those things because our energies are off. And we really need minerals right now. Like, as a
Yeah.
species, we need minerals more than we've ever needed them before. I'm drinking them right now. So, like, it's just such a big deal at this point because we have rebuilt our body,
Yeah.
and minerals are what make your electricity run around your body. So you really need them.
Yeah.
Spark.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a huge point too. It's like it's just exciting. We're moving into a space where, you know, you, Lauren, who also works with biomagnetism and healing and frequency, it's like, you know, someone's going to come to you. Maybe you're at one of our events and someone gets to come and talk to you. It's like it's a whole conversation about, it's a holistic conversation basically. It's not going to CVS picking something up from somebody that had not necessarily good intentions or possibly even negative intentions. It's just opening a whole new way of living for so many. And obviously we are already here. We are kind of more forerunners of this, but so many people are coming online now when they're seeing like, oh, Johnson and Johnson they've been put in the spotlight for all these, essentially, I feel, are crimes against humanity, lawsuits, everything is being exposed. It's like more and more people every day are stepping away from these corporations that are maybe even taken over already by executive orders and things like that. They're on the way out, but it's still important that we all get to choose so that people just begin to just empower themselves by seeing what's happening and then choosing, a better, something that's going to be better for them. That's a more loving, self-loving choice, essentially. So it's really exciting time.
Yeah.
It is an exciting time. So we will have our link below if you're interested in creating your own business. And we're going to have Lauren's link below if you're interested in trying out her products. I know I'm going to. So very
Yeah,
exciting.
I'm
Yes.
excited to send you some.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, thanks, honey. This was great.
It was beautiful. Yeah, thanks for being our guest today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.